Over the decades, education has been shaped by milestones and events in Australian history. The education system and curriculum of today has evolved and in most cases has been enhanced by various events. One such event was the Disabilities Services Act 1986. The focal point of this presentation targets the impact of the Disabilities Services Act 1986 on high school aged children with disabilities. This was a significant event in Australian history for all communities, especially for people with a disability or any person and family caring for a person with a disability. The aim of this Act was to help people with disabilities to gain and maintain employment. Prior to 1986, people with disabilities' only source of employment was in industries referred to as Australian Disability Enterprises, which were also known as sheltered workshops. Students with disabilities were placed in special schools and segregated from mainstream schools. This Act has revolutionised the way people with disabilities are now treated. The implementation of this Disability Act has positive implications for school students. Students were integrated into mainstream schools and a wide variety of employment opportunities became available. This modern education landscape, following the Disability Services Act 1986, now provides government and legislative incentives and funding for employment and education opportunities for people with disabilities. Teaching resources have now been rewritten and refined to integrate students with disabilities entering mainstream classes with the assistance of teacher aides, learning support units and government funding. School curriculums can be varied to suit these students through a number of methods that can be enhanced by learning experiences of students with disabilities, all members of a class, and the greater school community. The target audience for these teaching materials is high school students, but can also benefit all school students. Some general teaching strategies could include using handouts with less pen and paper writing involved for students, seating students with visual disabilities at the front of the class or projecting the information with a larger font, breaking down possible barriers by involving other students, by giving them some responsibility in assisting students with a disability, allowing students with disabilities to participate in normal activities, giving them a sense of value, self-belief and belonging by seeing themselves as peers and not different to others. These strategies can also assist other students about the values of caring for and helping those less fortunate than themselves. This lesson is designed to be implemented into a high school curriculum, targeting the Year 8 cohorts aged 12 to 14 years. The aim of this lesson is to create a stimulus for students and teachers to talk about disabilities and identify areas that the school community can improve to include all students. The lesson I have designed involves a role play and in part an awareness of the difficulties faced by students with visual disabilities. This role play can be adapted to reflect the type of disability that the students in a school are likely to be exposed to, such as wheelchair accessibility and fitting in with peers. This lesson involves preparing an overhead projection with quite a lot of writing on it, using a font size that is very small and blurred. Ask the students to copy down the information. There will likely be some students who say they can't see it. Use this as an opportunity to tell them to stop talking and complete the task. Ask them to hand in their work to be assessed. After the work is handed in, ask the students what they thought of the task. Some responses may include, I couldn't see the writing. The words were too small or too blurred. I need to move to the front. It's not fair because I was at the back. Or I couldn't do it. The next step is to ask the students what would have helped them to do the task better and allow them to reach their full potential. Some responses may include, you could make the font bigger, the text needs to be not blurred, you could have given us a handout to work from, or you could write the information on the board. In this role play, the students were able to identify the issues and present some logical solutions. This process could then be used to identify possible barriers to learning for students with disabilities in the classroom, and solutions can be found. The main learning method used was for students to role play. In other words, they put themselves in the position of a student with a disability. These lessons for high school students would better prepare them for future employment opportunities and allow them to identify their strengths, weaknesses and solutions, such as the type of work they would like to do, their employment opportunities, knowing and understanding their capabilities to suit employment opportunities, the expectations of employment, and being more aware of the difficulties of people with disabilities. These lessons can be used and implemented for all students, giving equal opportunities and learning experiences to all students to know their own expectations and capabilities. References used for this presentation include the following: